And speaking of optimization, today we're going to talk about optimizing your brain for super intelligence. Most people don't realize that your brain takes up approximately 30% of the calories you burn per day. And the quality of your nutrition going into your brain, so here's your brain. Okay, we got a little happy face. Hopefully you're feeling happy by now. You're doing all this program. You should be happy. But imagine this here noggin is taking up 30% of your energy. And there's a lot of information about what's the best food and that sort of thing. And of course, each person runs a different bit. Some people say high fat, some high carbs. I hope you checked out some of the stuff that we shared with you earlier in regards to optimizing your brain function. But this is an area that I've spent a lot of time in, and it continues to grow, and you're seeing more and more technology come out there that can help you. So if you recall our brain waves, we have a variety of them. We have alpha, okay, we've got beta, okay, we've got theta, delta, and then there's another one down here that's gamma, okay? So I started experimenting with brain technology, let me see, when I was in my early 20s. It first started out with neuro-linguistic programming, just understanding how we use our brains. But then I started, taking courses like super learning and, memory games and these type of things to enhance that. But now we're finding out that there's different brain waves that allow you to be in the optimal state at a given time. For example, if you're on your computer right now, this is kind of the beta zone, and it's kind of like quick, rapid action, doing your stuff, that sort of thing. This is where most people spend all of their time, right here. And the problem is we're not leveraging some of these other kind of super states. Alpha, which is kind of like what Zen, the state of like Zen monks or monks meditating in the mountains, it'd be kind of like alpha. This is just before sleep and awaking, that little hour, kind of like the dream state. Perhaps you heard of Edgar Cayce, the sleeping state that used to kind of tap into what they call the, Akashic records, or the universal repository of all information. And it's a little esoteric out there, but if you look at the research, there's some pretty extraordinary technology around here. This here is delta, very rare case. This is the ability to move matter in the world. And then gamma is kind of like jet fighter pilots. Okay, would be in that. This one's a little harder to recognize or to measure, because if there's any muscle tissue, it's hard to get on the scale. But basically, by going between these different states, you can enter into kind of different states of consciousness where you can accelerate learning, you can process more emotions, and there's a growing field. A lot of this is called neurofeedback. So there's a variety of devices out there. So for example, a friend of mine, Patrick Flanagan, you probably heard of him if you look around. He came up with some technology that allows you to get into the alpha zone very easily. This is for people who have challenges learning or caught here, can't remember things, and it's more and more common with all these electronic devices. I would check with our website, and we'll show you some of the devices that Patrick has developed to allow you to kind of instantly go to one of these states and accelerate your learning, your memory, these type of things. Another form to do is just plain meditating. And this is something that I've been doing for years and years. Meditation is a process where you start watching your breath and doing specific breaths and then relaxing the body. And by doing this, you start to change your brain state. That's really the technology behind how meditating works, is that you're able to, through breathing or the watching of your breath or the focusing techniques, whether it's a soft focus, wide, or narrow focus intensely, will allow you to go from one of these states to another. Now, some of these states are very difficult to achieve, and they take a lot of practice in order to do that. However, with technology coming back, or coming into the mix now, we're getting technology that allows people to accelerate the speed and time it takes to get into these states. And once you've experienced that, I think you're going to find that it's truly exceptional, because it allows you to take your your learning capacity and the optimization of your physiology. Some people will talk about hypnosis and self-hypnosis. Years ago, I used a guy by the name of Dr. Lee Poulos to help me in regards to training my mind and my physiology to respond to my training better. And I can tell you this, I started using these hypnosis CDs. I listened to them at night before I went to bed. And literally after 10 years of not winning contests, just after 6 months of using this technology, I'd made improvements to my physique enough that allowed me to capture titles. And later on, I actually used this technology to, be successful in way more of my bodybuilding contests. I became very hard to defeat. And I think a lot of it had to do with the mental advantage that I had in being able to align my body to the competition. The final thing is, getting into, there's some advanced, I'm going to call this advanced neurofeedback. Now, recently, me and my business partners at BiOptimizers, we went into an advanced neurofeedback program where you are literally put in a chamber for, all day long. Basically, it's a silent chamber. There's devices hooked up to your head that's monitoring all your brainwave functions. What happens, that goes into computers. These are read by a team of experts. And then you start running processes, both emotional release, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, emotional release programs, because what we're able to do through neurofeedback is, if you look at your brain, you have all these little neurons, and you have like dendrites and axons. And what happens is they connect up in certain patterns that have been established through your experiences through life. So the brain will always, take certain pathways. And sometimes these are from traumatic experiences or very, very high experiences that you might have had. And when you're in these neural patterns, sometimes you will see and experience life in a certain way simply because of something that happened to you in your unconscious when you were 3 or 4 or 5 years old. Well, now with the latest advanced neurofeedback technology, you can actually go in here during these processes with all these computers hooked up, run emotional release programs or specialized meditation or concentration programs, and start changing how these neurons hook up, and also, more importantly, creating new neuronal connections. And that, if you can do this, can increase your IQ, it can increase your intelligence, it allows you to move through situations that you had emotional struggle with or fear about in a way that you couldn't imagine. And I can share with you this. I've gone through advanced neurofeedback several times now, and I can tell you this, it absolutely changed my life. My whole outlook is completely different. And why that is because we have what's called the reticular activating system. And anyone who's studied neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, made popular by Richard Bandler and John Grinder, with your RAS is your reticular activation system. In other words, if I say, okay, look around in your room right now and look for red, 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 look at everything in your room that's for red. Now close your eyes. Now tell me everything in the room that was blue. See, you probably can't tell me that much. Now, if I could repeat this over and over, I could tell you to look for blue, you look for blue. Your brain will even start making stuff up, if it has to come in congruence. And so this is set up in your brain physiology from your past experience. So sometimes maybe someone has had a challenge in a certain area that, I can't seem to learn languages because their third grade teacher, told them they struggled at Spanish or French or something. Well, guess what? Because they built a belief system, and so the RAS is always looking for reasons to support that story. Through neurofeedback training, you can go in, rewire your brain, and become super optimized when it comes to running your brain and your intelligence. So now there's no excuses about the sad story. You can actually change this for yourself. So in upcoming lessons, we're going to talk a little bit more about this and some of the science behind it and why that is so important. Of course, following the principles. What's interesting is, whether it was all of the experts that I've talked about, they all spend time on their nutrition, their optimization, enzymes, probiotics, minerals, vitamins, all these sort of things to optimize your brain program. And if you're doing the BiOptimizers nutrient programs like we recommend and suggest, you're going to find that you're going to have an optimal brain physiology to start from a nutritional standpoint, and then you can start using a variety of these electrical-based technologies to experience states of consciousness or awareness that you thought maybe wasn't possible for you. But I want to share with you this. You have unlimited potential. You have a repertoire of a supercomputer that you're only leveraging on a short level. That goes for all of us. I'm not here to condemn anyone, but what I'm saying is you have all this untapped reservoir of super capacity awaiting for you, just ready to be unlocked. But in order to get there, you're going to have to use some technology to get you out of this zone and into some of these other zones. And there's no better, faster way to do it than by using some of these electrical-based technologies, practicing a meditation process. You know about our daily routine by now. You can get that implemented and start playing around with some of this stuff. And I can tell you this, with the rate of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease and the challenges with people's brain physiology that's moving up or becoming more commonplace today as we get older, this technology, I believe, represents the future of how to, number one, avoid those situations, and also how to turn the clock back on it. And we're going to be talking a lot about this in the BiOptimizer program coming up in adjacent to the course. And to get part or take part in some of the advanced neurofeedback, what you need to do is you need to go in and email us at the BiOptimizer website, or go online, check in our blog, whatever. Get a hold of us, and we'll share with you some of the things and put you in contact with the experts in this cutting edge field. So I hope you learned a little bit about optimization for your brain, for super intelligence, and learning some of these states. I know it seems a little whacked out at first, but once you've experienced the technology for yourself, I think you'll be very, very impressed. So that's it for today's lesson. We'll see you on the next one.